Hello, everybody, once again. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at paragraphs, styles, and formatting. We have already taken a look at these three topics just briefly in the last and previous lessons. So we're going to look a little bit more in depth into each of these sub topics. So stay with me and it's important that you follow along by trying to replicate what we are doing and see the results for yourself to give you the confidence. So I'm just going to dive right in. So the tag for a paragraph is this, all right? And this signifies a paragraph. And what a paragraph is, it's uh, it starts a new line every single time and it automatically adds white space before and after uh, the the paragraph itself, right? So we are going to take a look at that. So let's just put some examples. So uh, this is, oops, this is not where it's supposed to be. My bad. So let's do it again. This is a paragraph, right? If I refresh this, you see this. This is a paragraph, right? If I put another paragraph, P, this is a second paragraph. Okay, so you see here that what it does is it creates a new line, right? Which is what I was trying to say. And it automatically adds white space or a margin if you prefer, before and after the paragraph. So you can see the before, right? White space and afterwards. So that's what the paragraph is. So we have some few things that we must know about a paragraph, and that is a paragraph will automatically remove any white space. Okay, so let's, you know what? Let's just do this to have a longer paragraph. And I'm just gonna put gibberish because I don't know how to type. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna put a long space in here, right? And if I refresh this, you can see that the white spaces have all been removed. So a paragraph does not comprehend the spaces that you put in there. So that's one thing that we should take note of when we talk about the paragraph elements. So when it comes to paragraphs, there's something else there's another element that we need to discuss, and that is the horizontal rule, the HR element, right? And what the HR element is, and this is one of those elements that is actually an empty tag. It doesn't have a closing tag, right? It's just like the break, the line break or the HR. These are all like empty tags and has no end tag. So the horizontal rule defines a break in HTML page, right? It's often used to separate different pages or yeah, different content, right? So we're gonna see how it's gonna look like. So I have one paragraph and I'm gonna separate it with an HR tag, which is the horizontal rule tag. And when you refresh this, you're gonna see the break, right? So you can actually have separate content uh, in there. So that's what the horizontal rule is. So this is another example, and I got this from the w3schools.com, right? And it has the headers, the paragraphs, and then you have your horizontal rule, right, to separate this content from this content. So you can actually see how the horizontal rule can be used in your pages. So what one may ask, okay, and I'm sure most of you are asking that since the the P element ignores white spaces, what happens if we want to have a break in line, right? How one will have maybe this is some and then maybe there's some text going to the next line. We can use another element called the break, and I think I already mentioned it briefly. And that is simply, let's say I want to make this S, and then I want to break this to the next line. I can put that BR, and as you can see, as this is also what we refer as an empty tag, right? And it has no closing tag. So this is the line break, and it's gonna break cause a break in the. So if I refresh this, you can see that it caused the line break to the next line. So that's what the line break does. The next thing is, what if I want to preserve the formatting, the spaces of whatever I am inputting into the element, right? What if I want to preserve the space? If I want to have 5 spaces, I want to preserve. What if I want to preserve those spaces? What element can I use? And the good news is we have an element called the pre. So it goes like this, right? And this, whatever you put in here, it's gonna be preserved. The spacing, the font, everything is gonna be preserved. The font, by default, the font is gonna be Courier, but you know how we can change that later, right? So it's gonna preserve the line breaks. If you decide to write on the next line, it's gonna preserve that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just do an example. My name is Ahmed, and maybe 2 spaces down. I am 80, 90 years old. Maybe I could be. And I am a man, right? And maybe I want to leave a lot of space and then full stop exclamation, just so you can see. So if I run this, you can see that it preserves the formatting of whatever you put in there. So this is another way you can preserve it without having to use line breaks and all that. So we have preserved the formatting of this, right? So this is good to know. The next thing is, and this is going to be super fast, is that we need to talk about headings, right? And I'm going to just delete this. For headings, uh, we have basically 6 types. We have H1 to H6, and each of these define uh, how headings should be, right? So we have H1, and we are going to just go and code all of that. So I'm going to put H1, and I'm going to say heading 1. And I'm just gonna copy this to save time. Okay, this is gonna be H2, and so I don't waste time, I have it here. I'm just gonna do this. So these are your headings, and I'm gonna show you how the formatting is gonna look like once I refresh this. So you can see heading 1 is the kind of the biggest heading, right? If I try to put H7, and maybe let me try it and test. I'm just gonna put a test and refresh this. It does give you a header, but it's by default not what you are looking for, right? So what I mean to say is it's just normal text, right? So you can see that it's just normal text. So for example, if I put uh let's say H8, and you see that it's gonna be the same formatting, and even if I have just normal text, right, it's all gonna be the same because this is just normal text, text formatting, right? So you can see it's all gonna be the same. It's not a heading, right? So you only have H1 to H6, and that is all the formatting that we have when it comes to headings. Yep. So you can see that the H1 should be used for your main headings, followed by H2, which is going to be your subheadings, and less and less till you get to H6. Again, we can actually format these headings. So by default, they have a pre-specified size. But you can, like we discussed in the style, the previous style video, we can change the size of this, and I'm just gonna style this differently and maybe use a different font size, right? So I'm gonna say font size. Why don't we give it? Oh, sorry. Why don't we give it uh, a 50 pixel, right? And then you can see when I refresh this, the size changes. So we can make updates to the way these look. By default, they come with their own sizes, but you can change these anytime. So the style again is the HTML style attribute is used to add different styles to the element like we just did, such as font, color, size, and there are so many more things we can do with styling, right? So, and we all know that uh, the the syntax for a style, I can see, has the tag name, right? Then you have the style, the tag name, the style, and in the style you have the property, right? And then the value that you want to set it to, right? So it's gonna look something similar to this. The tag name, the style, then the property, what we want to change. So in this case, we are trying to change the font size, which is the property, and then the value, which is the 60 pixels, and then your closing tag, and then content, whatever the content is, right? So that is the formatting for this. So we're just gonna look at a few more. The first one we want to look at would be, let's say, the background color. Now, what the background color is that the background color defines the background of the HTML element that you are styling. So, for example, whatever the HTML element you're styling is, and let's say we are styling the body of the HTML, right? So I'm going to style this body, and just for, let's put in some H1 stuff. This is a heading, okay? H1 heading, and then let's put in a paragraph just so we have some context. P tag, right? This is a paragraph, right? So we have these two, right? But we want to style the background of this body, right? And like I said, the body of an HTML element is the page itself, the body of the HTML page, right? So everything in the body. So let's change the background color, right? So like I said, syntax, style, equal this, and then we are going to have what are we styling? The background color. And what color are we going to give this? Let's say whatever I choose, which is gonna be coral. Okay, let's do this. And so I have styled this to have this color. So if I refresh this, you can see what we have done, right? So this is just the background color style. We can also style let's say the text color, right? And so let's say we want to style this heading, right? So same procedure. We are gonna style, and then we're gonna say the color. And then what color do you want to give it? This is going to be difficult because, okay, let's just choose this one. So you're going to start at this color, and then you can see that the color of the text changed. So that is how we style uh, the, sorry, text color. Again, we can also choose different fonts, right? So with a paragraph, I'm gonna style it differently and use a different font. So I'm gonna say style, same procedure. And what we use here is called, we are targeting the font family. So most of the time it gives you hints. We have the font size, font family, font weight. We want to target this attribute, font family. And what do we want to give it? Sorry. Let's say Let's give it a courier, right? And then let's refresh this. So you can see how it's affected the font of this P element. We can also style the text size, right? So let's try to style the text, right? So let's say we wanted to style the heading still, right? So this H1 element. So we already have the style in there. So I'm gonna add another attribute that we want to affect, which is gonna be, and that is not where it should be, which is gonna be uh the font size, right? So I'm gonna put in the font size, and I'm gonna put in the, let's say, 50 pixel. And when I refresh this, we have styled the font size of this, right? We can also do other stuff like text alignment. Say we want to align the text, we can also do it. And so, for example, if we wanted to center our paragraph, let's say whatever we have here, I'm just gonna add another attribute that we want to target, which is text align, to align our text. And I'm gonna say center because that's what we want to do. So if I refresh this, you can see that it centers it on the page, right? So that is the styling, right? So the next thing we're gonna look at is formatting, right? Let's look at a little bit of formatting. So the HTML format, and I have to be very specific. Text formatting, right? It's only used to format text or defining how a text looks like, right? So we're going to look at a couple of formatting uh, styles for text. So the first one that we're going to look at is the bold, right? And I'm just gonna delete all of this, right? And have the B tag, right? And just put in bold text, right? So that is it. If you see, so the text itself is bold, right? So that is the bold tag, B tag, right? So that's the bold text, and it's a bold element, B element. We can also define a text to be maybe strong, right? So it's strong element, and I'm saying strong text, all right? And you can see um, it looks a little bit like the bold, but it has this strong feature to it. And normally you use this when you want to highlight text that has like strong importance, right? Like a significant importance, right? So it's like a highlight. You want to highlight a specific text. We can also have italics, right? Let's say we want to italize our text, right? So this is italics, right? And you can see here it's been italicized, right? So this is another way we can format our text. And another one we want to look at is the emphasis, right? So first, let me put a p tag and then just say this is a sample text, right? And now let's say I want to emphasize the text. I can put an em, right? And maybe I should just copy this, cut this out and put it in here, right? And then, so I want to emphasize the text portion of this. So if I refresh this, you can see that this has been emphasized, and it normally does it in italics. So you can see that they look the same, right? So that's the difference. The small element, we have a element called small, and this just generally defines small text. So this is a small text, right? So if I refresh this, you can see how small this is compared to these ones, right? And so the next one is the mark element, and this is usually used to show marked or highlighted text, right? So let's look at an example, and I'm gonna break this off to the next line, right? So I'm gonna put a p tag and say uh, I want some ice cream, right? And then I'm gonna mark this off the ice cream, right? So let's say it's a mark, right? And then again, I should just copy this and cut this off and put it in here. So you can see here, if I refresh this, this is some ice cream. So you can see how it's been highlighted, right? So by default, we can always change the styles of this, but you can see what the default looks like. The next text formatting is we're going to look at is the del, right? And the del is normally used to mark deletion of a text in your document, right? And what browsers normally do is that they usually strike through the text, they delete the text. So, for example, if I have another p tag, right, and I put in this text has been deleted, all right, oops, deleted by someone else. Oh, if that is even a word. Okay, so I'm just gonna use this, and what I'm gonna do is I wanna delete the someone else, right? So I'm gonna, and again, I should have done it before putting the tag. So I'm gonna put the del, and then just cut this and put it in here. So that's what I want the deleted text to be. So if I refresh this, you can see how it has stroke through or strike through this thing, right? So yeah, that is what the del does, the del element does. What if I want to insert instead of delete? There's another element called the ins, which is used to insert. So if I wanted to insert this as an insertion, this sample, let's say sample here. So if I wanted to use this as an insertion, all I need to do is to put it in the insertion uh, element. So it's ins, and then all I have to do is put it in the content. And when I refresh this, you can see that it's underlined. So it's like an insertion in there. Finally, let's look at if we wanted to have a subscript or a superscript. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna have some sample. Uh, this is a subscript, and this is a let's see superscript, right? Right. So let's now make this subscript, and to make it sub, we just use the element sub, right? So this is for sub. So I'm gonna copy this or cut this off and then put it right here. And then for super, I'm gonna do this and then put that there. So we can visually see the difference. So if I refresh this now, the browser is gonna notice that this is a subscript and this is a superscript. So that's how we format these text representations, right? So we have a lot more that we can look at, but these are what we have discussed for now. You might see some down the line when we start doing other HTML stuff, but this is a sample text formatting uh, elements that we have discussed. So see you in the next lesson. Thank you for watching.